Hello, I'm Cece Garrett, and I'm a licensed clinical social worker practicing in the state of Washington. I specialize in working with families, individuals, and communities impacted by hoarding disorder. One of the things that I do is I offer peer support and non-clinical supports, and through that, I have this Ask Me Anything platform where I encourage people to send me a message, and then I record a response. And I've gotten quite a few of these over the last 6 months, and I really enjoy doing them. It's also really helpful because it helps me know what the things are that people are looking for as far as resources that they don't feel like are being addressed. This question is a hard question because it's something that I can offer in a one-on-one basis, but have limited ability right now to do so. But it's something that this question really drives home how significant the need is. So, with that said, a website viewer sent this message. What resources are available to COH to help their parents? And is anything covered by insurance? The website viewer then responded and said, Hey, my sister and I are totally at a loss for taking the next steps. We know our mom will be mad if we suggest she gets help. And they're not even sure how to request mental health care for someone else if there's not an immediate life-threatening crisis. So there's actually quite a few different things going on in this question. So what resources are available to COH to help their parents? The most obvious resource, and I'm just going to tell you, like I send a lot of people there, is a book called Digging Out, which was written by Michael Tompkins and Tamara Hartle, 2009. So it's not a new book, and it is not written specifically for COH. It's written for family members or loved ones, so friends, community people who are wanting to help someone who has a hoarding behavior. There's some great vignettes in the book about application. Um, but to be fair, sometimes reading a book doesn't translate into the kind of support and help as COH we need in having these conversations. Is anything covered by insurance? Yes and no. So once once your parent agrees and is willing to proceed to get help, mental health care for hoarding disorder is, in fact, medically necessary and covered by the insurance companies, right? The disconnect then is, of course, how do we get someone who doesn't seem to think there's a problem and you're concerned is going to be really upset if you suggest that there is? How do we get them motivated and moving to that place? And that's where there's not a lot of insurance coverage. That's considered consultation, or a training program, coaching, and so not covered by insurance. And I know that that's really hard. So one of the things that I'm just going to suggest is that you read Digging Out and look at those strategies that Tompkins and Hartle present, because in fact, a lot of those actually come back even further to Xavier Amador, who wrote a book called I'm Not Sick, I Don't Need Help, which was written out of his own experience as a psychiatric provider and his own experience having a family member with schizophrenia, which is somebody who also, typically has low insight into the problem and into the need for, medication and support. So the principles are sound. That said, one of the things that is challenging is that in hoarding disorder, the emotional dysregulation that comes with hoarding, people who have hoarding behaviors often have emotional dysregulation. And as children, our parents are often attached to their possessions and not necessarily to us. And therefore, it was hard for us to attach to them, right? And that's not to say that everybody's this way, but a lot of people. And so this is where this framework is a little challenging. I don't want to discount that your parent is emotionally dysregulated still, right? Haven't accepted help. And that having these conversations is going to require you to have really great self-regulation skills. You're going to need to be able to emotionally self-regulate on your own behalf so that if when your parent gets dysregulated in these conversations, you're able to remain calm. You can be empathetically with them, hear their concerns, reflect them back, name their emotions with them, but not get pulled into it. And it's hard. It's very hard. It's something that ideally we're taught by our parents. COH didn't necessarily have a parent who had emotional self-regulation skills to teach us, right? So that's going to be a really hard piece. Now, this is the one piece where, again, is there something covered by insurance? If you're going to take this path, I highly encourage you to work with a counselor to make sure that you have emotional self-regulation skills and good handle on that before working in this. And the other important thing here I want to say is be aware if that has been a traumatic relationship, it may not be the best place for you to have the conversation. So we never want to re-injure ourselves by going back into a traumatic situation, nor do we want to traumatize our parents further by creating a traumatic situation for them. And I know that's hard. That doesn't mean we don't do anything, but it means that before we jump, we need to make sure what we're doing and that we're the best person to do it. Now, I don't know if this website viewer had actually downloaded the ebook. When I created it, I did not talk a lot about self-regulation, but one of the things I did talk about was making sure before we engage with our parents that in fact we're in the right place to do that. That even if we're not doing any of the in-home supports, the caregiving possibilities within just being an advocate with or for our parents is heavy, right? There is the ability, depending on, the last piece, I'm not sure how to request mental health care for someone if there's not an immediate life-threatening crisis. In most states, there's adult protective services in all the states. The age and what's reportable varies state to state, but it is a place where most families aren't aware that, in fact, if the conditions of the home are significant, and not just really full, but really bordering maybe on significant falls, fall risk, maybe some squalor. So we've got rotting food, concerns that they can't use running water. Then we can lean into, even as family members, making a report. Again, it's going to piss off your parent, right? Like I'm not going to pretend. There's no easy solution here. That said, sometimes that's what's needed. APS cannot force mental health care, but sometimes it brings in what we would call a third party, So we have a carrot and a stick, and that sometimes they can be the stick and the carrot. And then we can just be supportive helpers instead of being the ones pushing the boulder up the hill. Great question. And I will just say, it really highlights something that I want to work on in my professional endeavors in the next year or so, that, creating something, maybe a group course that adult children who are in this place where they're seeing this need really getting significant for their parents and wanting to know how to proceed in a healthier, way. Perhaps this is something that's coming in the future. So, thanks for the question. And I hope you find this helpful. If you are watching this and you haven't submitted a question, and maybe now you have a question, feel free to jump over to the website, ask me anything hoarding related, and I will respond personally. This goes directly to the person who sent the message, as well as them getting uploaded to YouTube for the benefit of others. Because again, so few resources are available for people like you and me, children of hoarders. Have a great day.